Hello, everyone. I am Miss Karen at Adams Memorial Library, and welcome to this week's book report. Now, you might notice that Bryony and Dandelion got a few more friends to come live with them at the library. So now we have Bryony Bear and Rosie Bunny Rabbit, Diantha Deer, and Dandelion Lion. And this week, wouldn't you know it, they each picked a book that they wanted me to share with you. And the books that they chose this week are all what I'd call circular stories. So they kind of end up where they began, which, spoiler, so you'll kind of know how the books end, but it's not so much knowing where they end, it's seeing what the journey everybody went on to get there is. So the books for this week are Bryony's choice was If You Give a Moose a Muffin by Laura Numeroff, and Felicia Bond did the illustrations. And Rosie likes bedtime books. She likes sleeping. And this book by Mora is called Everybody in the Red Brick Building. Mora did the illustrations, and Wynter actually wrote the words to this one. Diantha is partial to books that take place in the woods, like this story called Bear Has a Story to Tell, which was written by Philip C. Stead and illustrated by Erin Stead. And Dandelion chose this book because Amelia Smiled, which was written and illustrated by David Ezra Stein. So let me tell you a little bit more about these books. Maybe you know some other books that were written by Laura Numeroff and illustrated by Felicia Bond, like If You Give a Moose, or this is If You Give a Moose a Muffin, If You Give a Mouse a Cookie, If You Give a Dog a Donut, any of those? You might know If You Give a Cat a Cupcake. Well, Bryony likes If You Give a Moose a Muffin, and so do I, because I like it because it takes place in fall, and also because muffins. I like muffins, but if there's a moose and the moose smells some muffins, and if you decide to give the moose a muffin, well, it could have consequences. Because, then the moose might just walk into your house and might want some jam to go with it. Oh, yummy jam does taste pretty good on muffins. I agree. So you'll bring out some of your mother's homemade blackberry jam. But then after he finishes eating the muffin with blackberry jam, he'll want another, and another, and another. Maybe another after that. He's a moose. He's pretty big. But then after that, he's going to want some more, and you might be out of muffins. So you'll have to go to the store to get some muffin mix if you're making them from a mix, and the moose will want to go. But, because it's fall, I think, it's a little chilly. He might need to borrow a sweater. And then when he borrows a sweater, he might find that one of the buttons are loose. And then, if anybody's going to sew a button, they might realize that they need some puppets. It happens. So what happens after the moose gets the puppets? Well, you can take this book out from the library and find out what happens if you give a moose a muffin. Now, in this book, Rosie's choice, everybody in the red brick building is sleeping because it's nighttime. So they're all asleep until, here's the red brick building. It's all dark. Everybody inside is asleep until baby Izzy sat up in her crib and howled. Wow! Oh, babies do that sometimes, right? Sometimes they just start to cry even in the middle of the night. Well, that woke up Rayhan. So he got out of bed to check on his parrot. And his parrot said, when Rayhan took the cover off, the parrot said, "Wake up, wake up." And then when the parrot said, "Wake up," besides the wah, then there was a wake up. And then Benny woke up and pulled Cairo and Miles up, and they all had a nighttime game of flashlight tag. And they went pitter patter stomp on the steps or on the floor, running back and forth. And gosh, that might wake somebody else up. The whan, rack, wake up, and pitter patter stomp might wake up Natalia. And what does she do? She shoots her rocket out. And then what would you guess? Yes, after the rocket gets out the window, that might wake somebody else up. That might wake somebody else up. That might wake somebody else up. And then what is going to happen to everybody in the red brick building? Well, you can check this book out from the library and find out what does happen. And does it go back in a circle? Does it go back? Are they going to fall asleep? Check the book out and find out. Now, this story, Bear has a story to tell. Bear's already, it's almost winter and he's almost ready to go to bed. And he's getting very sleepy. And Diantha knows what it's like to be in the woods. So Bear wants to tell somebody a story. He's got a story to tell, but the mouse says it's almost winter and I still need to gather seeds. So Bear helps the mouse. But then when they're done finding seeds, Mouse goes underground and says, see you in the spring. So Bear's got to find another friend to try to tell the story to. It's a really good story. So he finds Duck and says, Duck, can you hear my story? But Duck says, no, Bear, I'm sorry. It's time for me to fly south. You heard some ducks flying. Sometimes you can hear them overhead when they're quacking when they're heading south to where it's warmer. So Bear realizes, yes, his friend better fly south before it gets too cold. So waves goodbye to Duck. And he wishes he could have a friend to tell his story to. So he finds Frog. Says, can I tell you my story? But Frog says, no, Bear, I'm sorry. I've got to go under some leaves and sleep too. And, it's almost going to be time for Bear to sleep. So what's going to happen? Is he ever going to be able to tell his story? I don't know. How's that going to make a full circle? And this one, Dandelion's book is called Because Amelia Smiled. And it's about all the wonderful things that happen in all different places just because somebody smiled. So here is the city where Amelia lives. And she is with her family. And because Amelia smiled when she was coming down the street, because she looked so happy, it made Mrs. Higgins in her apartment smile too. Oh, sometimes, when somebody smiles, it makes everybody else smile too. So Mrs. Higgins smiled, and she thought of her grandson who lived far away in Mexico, but she baked some cookies to send to him. Thought that would be a nice thing to do, but because Mrs. Higgins baked some cookies and sent them to Lionel, he ate one of the cookies, and then they were so good he decided that he would share the rest with his class. And there he is. He's teaching the people in his class how to speak English, and he taught them all a song about cookies. And because he taught the class a song, one of his students decided to be a teacher too. And so she thought she would teach other people how to do kickboxing like she does. And then it keeps going and going and going and going. Everybody gets happy, all because Amelia smiled. So these library books make me happy and make my friends here happy. I hope they will make you happy too. If you would like to find out what happens, come to the library and check them out. And next week we'll be back and we'll be talking about some more books for you for next week's book report. But thank you very much for watching, friends, and we'll see you later. Thank you.